We're here in the Changing Chesapeake, which is a community response exhibition here at Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum. It's really a unique kind of exhibition for us where we solicited artistic responses to several questions about what people perceive as change in the Chesapeake region, whether it's change over time, change to the fisheries, environmental change. And we gathered together this group of artwork from all kinds of people, both people who consider themselves traditional trained artists and those who simply like to express themselves through various forms of media that are artistic forms, from literature to traditional painting and photography, to fiber arts and quilting, to things like stop motion animation, music videos, original music, and literature and poetry. So it's really very much a departure, very much unlike a traditional art exhibition. And the intention was really to capture the folk culture of response to all of the variety of changes we see in this region. A good example of one of the artworks in this exhibition is Looking Out on Ghosts of the Coast, which is this piece of quilting by a scientist named Laura Gurton. Laura is a longtime quilter and a trained PhD scientist teaching at the university level, and she's long used quilting as a way to teach her students about changes to the earth, to geology, and about climate change. And it really kind of encapsulates, in looking out at a ghost forest, the changes that the artists perceive around them and how they want to use art as a medium to communicate that.
Through an outside community panel juried process, we went through and chose 78 works, each of varied content, technique, and we took each of those works and grouped them in different ways that spoke to what each artist was working to get across, and also in relation to what other artists were doing. One of the themes and one of the aspects that resonated with a number of artists was ghost forests, which goes into saltwater intrusion that happens all along the eastern shore and western shore of the Chesapeake Bay.
Another element that features really prominently in the exhibition is the wildlife of the Chesapeake region, from the native and indigenous fish to hawks and eagles, to some of the invasive species that are really changing the nature of the waterways. And then on top of that, we reveal some of the aspects of the fisheries that the Chesapeake is so well known for. So dockside projections, images of watermen harvesting the waters are also a very prominent feature here in the exhibition. So there's the curatorial or the interpretive aspect of an exhibition, thinking about themes like sea level rise, and then there's the way that a designer like Jim puts that together to create the most compelling visual experience for guests.
So one of the things I'm looking for is how can one work actually inform another work and help you understand it. So in this case, we have a rather abstract work that speaks about sea level rise. And in order to help someone understand that and be able to grasp that concept, I look at the other works that we put around the room here. And in this case, we have images of places like Holland's Island that have been affected by sea level rise. And having those associated narratives come together helps one piece actually inform on the next piece, and actually creates more of an experience for people to understand what the artists are trying to get across. One of the important aspects of the exhibit is that we have not only video works, but we also have tactile works here. So we have these cards, but actually has literary pieces by different writers that are also incorporated into the exhibit. So along with books, artworks, videos, in this case a music video, we're able to get across the messages that these people want to communicate in various ways.
So some of the pieces in the show really needed space to be understood properly, and a great example is this piece by Joy Lowe about the generous Jenny. It's made from found objects, driftwood, shells, but the way that it's presented invites you to step a little closer and understand that each one of the shells represents the life of an enslaved person who was brought aboard the vessel Generous Jenny to Sotterley Plantation, whether they perished, whether they were women, whether they were children, or whether they were brought enslaved to what became the colony of Maryland. You're invited to come closer, to take a look at it, and also to read that statement, which helps you to understand the message that's being conveyed.
Part of having it in the position, and as we have done here, is that we can also use light to help project everything. So we get that shadow effect that goes in behind it, which actually adds more power and more dimension to the piece, and actually contributes to how the artist is trying to communicate this story that they were working it across.
As you might expect in an exhibition about the Chesapeake region, landscapes play a prominent part in this show, from a conceptual satellite image to a photograph taken from an ultralight plane. The way that the various artists conceived of the landscape around them is varied as the bay itself, from idyllic shots of sheltered coves to stormy skies, from rural to urban settings. You can pretty much see all of what the bay has to offer in these landscape artworks. This exhibition really was somewhat of a risk and a departure for us here at Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum, but taken as a whole, the voices that we hear are really representative of the culture of a community. They're diverse, they are reflecting on the past through the present. They really are emblematic of what we are trying to capture with our Folklife Center, which is part of the Maryland State Arts Council. The idea of community history, of voices, are what folklore is, and the folklore of our present day and the changes that we see around us are part of what we want to document for years to come.